Picture this. The sun-scorched plains of Uhud. History wasn't just being written in blood and steel out there. No, it was being written in the final moments of a life, in the last breath drawn, and in the secret intentions hidden deep within the heart. Today, we're diving into what it means to have a final deed.
You know, it's a question we all probably think about. Is a hero the one who fights the hardest? The one who shows the most unbelievable courage when the odds are completely stacked against them? But let's push that a little further. What if all that courage, that incredible display of strength, what if it's built on a foundation of something other than truth? What is it worth then? That's what we're going to unpack today by looking at 3 lives and 3 final acts from the Battle of Uhud that answer that very question. And that right there, that's the heart of our story today. A person might live their entire life one way, but their story, their real story, is sealed by the state of their heart in those final moments. And the battlefield of Uhud, well, it became the ultimate test of that truth. So our first story kicks off with a man who, let's be honest, almost missed the fight entirely. But as you're about to see, sometimes showing up at the exact right moment with the exact right purpose is everything. So this man, Amr ibn Thabit, better known as Al-Usairim, he was from Medina. He knew about the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and he'd been invited to Islam. But he said no. He was holding back, maybe stuck in the old ways, tied to the traditions of his people. And then, on the day of the battle, something just clicked. He hears the call to arms, finds out the Muslims are fighting in Uhud, and in that one singular moment, conviction takes over. He declares his faith, grabs his sword, and absolutely flies across the desert. He wasn't riding to defend a tribe. He was riding to fight for a truth he'd just found. He didn't hesitate, just threw himself right into the thick of it, fought like a lion, and was struck down. So when his people find him, he's barely hanging on, and they're just stunned. "What are you doing here?" they ask. "Are you fighting for us, for the tribe, or for Islam?" And he says no. It was a desire to embrace Islam. He died right after that. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, heard his story, he shared this just incredible verdict. Think about it. A man who had never prayed a single prayer, saved by one sincere final deed. All right, let's shift gears to our next story. This one shows that having a pure intention, honoring a promise, well, that isn't just about what faith you belong to. This is the story of a man who wasn't a Muslim, but whose sense of honor was absolute. Mukhaireeq was a respected and wealthy Jewish scholar in Medina, and his tribe had a treaty with the Muslims. When the call for Uhud came, he went to his people and basically told them, look, we have a promise to keep. We have to help Muhammad. They tried to get out of it, saying it was the Sabbath. But for Mukhaireeq, honor came before ritual. A promise was a promise. Period. And he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. I mean, look at this. He grabs his weapons and makes a vow. If I'm killed today, all my wealth goes to Muhammad to do whatever he wants with it. And then he went to Uhud and fought with the Muslims until he died. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, heard about it, he gave him this incredible title, honoring the fact that he was true to his word. And now we get to the real twist in our story. It's one of those accounts that's both mind-blowing and, honestly, a little scary. It's the story of a warrior whose actions were the stuff of legend, but whose fate was sealed before he even picked up his sword. So, get this, 7-9. That's how many enemy fighters Quzmaan reportedly took down all by himself. The guy was a force of nature, an absolute machine on the battlefield. The companions saw his bravery and were just in awe of him. And yet, this is what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said about Quzmaan. While he was still out there, fighting. Can you just imagine how confusing that must have been for the companions? They see a hero, a champion of their cause. But the Prophet, he saw something else. He saw what was on the inside. Quzmaan was badly wounded, and people were praising him for his incredible courage. But when they did, his response just laid it all bare. He asked them, "Rejoice for what? By Allah, I only fought for the honor of my people. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have fought at all." It was never about God, it wasn't about faith, it was all about tribal pride. And when he couldn't take the pain of his wounds anymore, he took his own life, proving the Prophet's words true. And this is where it all comes together. Just look at the two of them side by side. On the surface, Quzmaan the warrior did way more than Al-Usairim the saint. But see, the actions themselves, they're like empty containers. It's the intention you pour inside that gives them their real weight. One man's brief, sincere action completely outweighed another's incredible valor, all because his why was pure.
So you see, Uhud wasn't just a battle of swords and shields. It was a real-time, high-stakes classroom where the Prophet, peace be upon him, was teaching about the very anatomy of our actions. And this famous teaching? It's the master key that unlocks everything we've been talking about. By showing the fates of Al-Usairim and Quzmaan, the Prophet was teaching his companions and all of us a crucial lesson. It means that what we see on the outside, all the action and bravery, that's not what God is looking at. He's looking at the heart.
And the Quran itself gives us this beautiful framework for understanding it. This verse talks about people who are true to what they promised Allah. Al-Usairim, in his final moments, was true to a promise he just made to God. Mukhaireeq was true to a covenant he considered sacred. Their intentions were pure. But Quzmaan's promise, it was to his tribe, not to God. And his actions, however brave, reflected that misplaced loyalty.
And this kind of sincerity, it wasn't just about getting a reward in the next life. Sometimes that divine mercy showed up right there on the battlefield. Take the story of Qataadah, for instance. In the middle of the fight, he was hit so hard in the face that his eye was actually knocked out of its socket. He actually goes to the Prophet, peace be upon him, holding his own eye in his palm. And in this moment of just unbelievable grace and mercy, the Prophet gently takes the eye and he places it right back into the socket. And then, a miracle. An absolute miracle. Not only was Qataadah's eye healed, but it became his stronger, clearer eye for the rest of his life. It was like a physical sign of the kind of spiritual clarity that comes from true, unwavering faith. So this brings us full circle, right back to where we started, but with a new question. The stories from Uhud teach us that the final deed is what really counts, but they also teach us something deeper. The action itself, the fighting, the sacrifice, that's just the shell. It's the intention, the one hidden deep in the heart that really defines that final act and maybe our whole story.